During the quarantine, I worked as an independent food delivery driver. I got lots of orders going out into the more rural towns and farming communities. I learned early on to never, ever go inside a customer's house. With a small pool of customers, I had more than a few regulars who I would deliver to a few times a month. There was an old couple that lived in an even older farmhouse way out. I'd bring meals from the local diner out there a couple times a week. Each time, I would complete the order by leaving the bag just inside their porch. The two of them would kindly wave from the inner door. Adorable, right? This time, though, the old woman was waiting on the porch. She was sitting on a bench swing when I opened the door. "Welcome, young man." Her voice was dry and raspy. I returned her greeting and made some comment about the weather. She said, "Won't you come in and meet my husband? He'd love to say hello." "He's just inside." She gestured to the window. I could see a silhouette against a light in the back of the room. Something felt off. I told her I couldn't come inside. It wasn't part of my job. But she persisted, saying that they had been talking about me and how nice and friendly I was and that they wanted me to come in for a quick chat. I declined her offer and moved to leave the food on the porch as usual. As I turned to leave, the woman grabbed my arm and pulled me back. "Please, just come inside for a minute. I promise it won't take long," she said, her grip tightening on my arm. I was starting to feel uneasy, but before I could say anything else, the old man appeared at the door and smiled sweetly. "Come on in, son. Don't be shy." His voice sounded weak and frail, and my heart went out to him. Maybe they just wanted some company, I thought to myself. I stepped inside and was immediately hit by a wave of stale, sour air. The place smelled like mothballs and old laundry. The woman led me into a dimly lit living room, where the old man was falling into a rocking chair. He looked up at me and smiled, revealing a toothless mouth. Sit down," he said, motioning towards a worn-out armchair. I hesitated for a moment, but then sat down, trying to make myself comfortable. The old woman disappeared into the kitchen, and I could hear her rummaging around. The old man started to talk, telling me about his life on the farm, about how his family was first to settle the area. I listened politely, but I wanted out. The woman reappeared just out of sight to my left, holding a tray with a teapot and some cups. "I made some tea for us," she said, placing the tray on the coffee table in front of me. I looked down and saw that the liquid inside the teapot was a dark, murky brown. I said, "Oh, no thank you. I really should be going," starting to stand up. But the old man reached over and grabbed my hand tight. "Please, son, have some tea with us." His eyes were milky and jittered back and forth. I didn't want to be rude, so I reluctantly took a cup and sipped the tea. It tasted bitter and salty, and I immediately regretted my decision. I put the cup down and tried to go for the door. The deadbolt was locked, but I clicked it open and got back to my car. By the time I got inside and turned over the engine, my limbs were feeling heavy. I was already facing the way out, so I just tapped the gas and drove straight down the drive. I came to a stop in a little dip near where the road began. The next thing I knew, it was night. I was out for maybe an hour or two. I was alone in my car, engine running. I looked back at the house, and through groggy eyes, I could see lights on in the windows. I took a few minutes to get myself together. I crawled home with a sinking feeling in my chest. The next morning, I decided I needed to call someone and tell them what happened. I called the non-emergency line and told the operator that I was poisoned by an old couple, and I gave the address. She said they would have someone look into it. I didn't hear anything for a few days, so I called back and asked what came of it. The operator sounded a bit annoyed. She said those two old folks said I was being aggressive and tried to rob them, but I was lucky they weren't pressing charges. I wish I could say I gave up on delivering food after that, but I didn't have many options at the time. I never went inside another customer's home, and I never delivered to that house again.